Oh, this is dark. This is really dark.
Hey everybody, welcome to...
Oh, wait a second. Hey everybody, welcome to...
Nguh.
Okay, today I'm going to be discussing a topic of grave importance, something that has surely been lingering on the minds of millions for over a decade now. Today, we'll be investigating the language of the Rabbids. This is a mystery that researchers have been pondering and trying to decipher for the longest of times, and I'm here simply to explain what we know so far about the language of these rapacious alien beasts. The Rabbids are a species of semi-anthropomorphic bunny-like aliens that first appear in the Rayman game series by Ubisoft, and gradually undergo a Minions-esque transformation into the stars of their own franchise.
Hit the party, don't stop. Hit the party, the party, the party. Call me Bugsy, call me Hoppy. Anything, baby, just not sloppy. Floppy ear.
Oh god. Their intelligence seems to be generally lower than that of the average human. However, they are specifically shown to be communicating with one another in a way that appears to be like a language per se. They can read and understand at least the English language and maybe the French language, considering Ubisoft is a French company and the Rabbids were originally a French creation. So we can assume that they know English or French or whatever human language the game is being displayed in by the player. They have adopted some sort of Romanization orthography for their language, which we have seen in the game, and this is going to be an important bit of evidence for us to use as we go ahead. What remains uncertain is what exactly these Rabbids are saying. This Rabbid language, what is its phonology? What is its grammatical order? What if it's morphosyntax? And is it even remotely possible to gather what the Rabbids are actually saying in this language? Did the creators expertly craft a convoluted Conlang for these hideous beings? Or is it just random gibberish? If this is a true language, I'm going to attempt to collect as much information as possible on this subject. If it is not, then I'm just going to collect the information that the game does provide, and I'm going to be making a Rabbid Conlang. Let's begin.
Please record your message.
So first, yes, the Rabbid wiki does say several times that the language of the Rabbids is just complete gibberish. And I wasn't willing to give up so easily, so I kept digging. I searched and I piled through the vast depths of the internet, just begging and clawing at any resources I could find as to what these Rabbids could possibly be saying, and yeah, it's nothing. It's just gibberish. Yeah, the whole Rabbid franchise is just a bunch of like languageless goo that makes for easy and cost-effective international marketing. That's pretty much it. If anything, its gibberish is with a tinge of a French accent, considering Le Lapin Cretin is a product of, good old baguette land. So I was actually able to listen to several hours of Rabbid dialogue across the video games and the TV series and the movie, which are things that exist, apparently. I looked through it and I listened to them speaking, and I listened to see what kind of consonants that I could gather up. Now, there are exceptions to this list as I will go into, but the general phonemes for the consonants appears to go as followed. B, D, R, La, Dra, Bwa, Wa, Ha. Now, there's a bit of an issue here. You know, as far as I have collected through my hours of research, this is an accurate representation of the consonants that the Rabbids use, which with the orthographic letter N is mostly being used as a marker for the vowels coming before it being nasalized. There's not really much of a solid consonantal N that occurs. However, in the case of the classic game on the Nintendo Wii, Rabbids Go Home, there are a few examples of the Rabbid language being written out, and this Rabbid orthography can be shown to contain phrases such as bwá with 3 A's, okay, and that spelling, it works fine with what I've found. But then there's also this, BWAZHR exclamation point. Now this is a bit confusing to interpret, considering that there are really no elements of the sounds that the Rabbids make that convey anything that could produce a ZHR combo authentically, at least if you're thinking of it from an English perspective. However, they did write it down. This is one of the few examples of Rabbid writing that we have. So how do I make ZHR fit into the Rabbids' orthographies? Well, if I look at it from a French perspective, we can take this letter combo and we can interpret it to make a sort of quasi-jra to ra kind of sound. Something like that. It's a hardcore stretch, but if you can interpret that as a way of processing the certain nasalization and velarization that can occur in these Rabbid consonants and syllables, etc., it could work, being thought of as a part of the phonemic nasalization that I had originally written out as the letter N. But because it's a trigraph and it's really crusty, you know, I don't want this to be the case at all times. It's pretty bad, and I think that would happen extremely frequently without any other related syllables, because they nasalize their consonants a lot. So, I needed to think phonetically, okay, when a nasalized sound can become even more uvularized, pushed back further into the mouth. Thus, I think the best way to go about this is to have an orthographic distinction, but not necessarily a phonemic distinction, hear me out, between the words that end nasally and the words that end nasally when the previous consonant is la or la. Also, to make the ZH appear slightly more commonly, and to make it more easily typable, I could replace the ra symbol with ZH. Now, okay, yes, that is a stretch. Again, it's crusty, but I'm trying to make this accurate to the game, what the game has given me. They didn't give me much, but I'm rolling with it. So hear me out, hear me out. And not only that, but I can incorporate that letter R by making it a replacement for ra when it's a part of what was originally the d-ra digraph. Again, just keep going. Listen. When doing this, suddenly the writing looks a lot more like what few examples we have of the Rabbid language being written down, of its romanization. It'll look a little uglier than before, or a lot uglier than before, but these are the Rabbids we're talking about. They're not meant to be smooth and aesthetic, and I have no intentions of preventing this language from becoming an absolute clong through and through. Now we get to the real orthography that I'm going to be using for this Rabbid Conlang. We have, yeah, you saw that correctly. Those are tones. They correspond to the standard Mandarin tones, and they can be doubled up or even tripled up. Yep, that's right, we're having overlong vowels in this, with tone, to create some wild combinations of vowel tones. This is done to emulate the eloquent calls of the Rabbids, and by that I mean, the Rabbids don't really say much more than ah as their vowel, but they do very much fluctuate. Sometimes you'll hear kind of like an aw in them, but I kind of interpret that as a more nasalized, like aw. So I'm considering the only vowel sound to be ah, but we have the 5 tones. We can have one of them, 2 of them, or 3 of them in any combination, which creates a very, very large variety of potential words when you combine them with, and you use this vowel and consonant cluster symbolization, this syllable structure. Now yeah, that looks pretty cringe, you know? Pretty absolutely disgusting. And yeah, you're right. I went and I created a dictionary. And about, you know, my Conlang speedrun methods as close as I could to create a dictionary. I took a Swadesh list from French, and I took the GenGo word generator, and then I put it together and I created a massive list of, what, it's gotta be like 6,000 words or something. All we need left is the grammar, and the grammar I wanted to keep it relatively simple. So I'm kind of thinking of this Rabbid language as like a disgusting combination of aspects of French and of Mandarin, so I kind of went with a very strict word order. The word order is definitely SVO, so we're gonna have subject, corresponding adjective, verb, and tense marker is going to come after the verb. There's not going to be any conjugations or anything. Adverbs can come after that, and then the object, and then after that, the corresponding adjective. So, The sentence, "We have gone to the round earth," would sound something like this, and mind you, I am not a native Rabbids speaker. And then àndǎazhr, which is, "We will destroy it." Let me see if I can emulate the Rabbids speech. And then we have, "I told them to hide the children. They did not listen." And better yet, "We live each day in a perpetual search for meaning." And for what? Which I'm sure you can agree, very philosophical and deep. You never knew that this is what was going on when the Rabbids were talking, but 100% true. So there you go. There's a language for the Rabbids now, themed after French and Mandarin, with the phonology displayed by the Rabbids in their various media appearances. Now you no longer have to cry yourself to sleep wondering why there's no Rabbid language, because there is. I know I'm gonna be able to sleep more peacefully tonight, knowing that exists. I hope you will too. Mr. Ubisoft, sir, I'll take a check for that Rabbids themed book deal now. Be patient with the wall art stuff, like it's coming. I'm just trying to get like all the perfect elements crafted for it right now, and printing is tough when you don't really have a printer. Yeah, so merch exists. Patreon also exists. I'll do a formal announcement of it later, but it exists. Yeah. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Nguh out yet again. See ya. And then bwáawdrān.